cards, the good, the bad, the ugly. Ernest, tell us what to do, bro.
Hello, this is Ernest Burley Jr., your certified financial planner, your chartered financial consultant, your NFLPA registered player financial advisor. Again, congratulations to the guys who got drafted a few weeks ago during the NFL draft, and the guys who got picked up after the draft, and the guys who will be picked up coming down the line. So kudos to you. I know that's a lifelong dream. Hey, give me a call if you need an NFLPA registered player financial advisor to help you out in the financial planning arena, money management, insurance, or what have you, okay? Also, I'm an author of 2 books on money management, Easy as 1, 2, 3, okay? And Money Management from Grade School to Grad School. These books are being used by various organizations to teach financial principles to children, youth, and adults. So whether it's a church or whatever other type of organization, a business, or just a group of individuals who want to get together and learn some financial principles, whether it's young adults or older adults, check me out. We can do like a Zoom or maybe even in person, like a coursework on it to do a deep dive, okay? Also, I'm a licensed insurance agent with over 30 years in experience in the industry. I've been in business over 25 years, helping clients all over the country with financial planning, insurance, things of that nature. I have clients from the north to the south, from the east to the west, all over the country. So state lines do not confine Ernest Burley and Burley Insurance and Financial Services from helping people in those arenas. I specialize in wealth management, investing, so IRAs, 401k plans, investment portfolios, etc. Also asset protection, so protecting what you've accumulated. That's very important, right? Also asset growth, so growing strategically and wisely what you've accumulated. And also financial planning, whether it be basic financial plans or comprehensive financial planning, insurance, all different types of insurance, life insurance, long-term care, disability, home, auto, business, renters, condo, professional liability, business policies, all of the contractors, etc. And also athlete management. So on the NFL side, like I said before, I'm an NFLPA registered player financial advisor. On the NBA side, I'm an NBPA certified player agent. So I have a lot of connections in the NBA. I can get you some looks from some scouts and GMs. If you have that skill, right? It's tough to make it in the NBA. You got to be really, really good. Or overseas. Okay, I have connections overseas too because I'm FIBA licensed also. Okay. Now the purpose of this podcast is to educate, to enlighten, to empower individuals with like clear, objective, unbiased information so they can make the right decisions for themselves and for their families or for their businesses or what have you. So it's just all about getting the right information in hand, whether it be, like I said, people you're associated with, your church, your business, your co-workers or whomever, just getting some clear, objective information that you can make some wise decisions based on that objective information. Okay. Now, today's podcast, I think it's going to be pretty short. It's titled Credit Cards, Good or Bad, right? And also credit, use it or lose it. So I'm kind of piggybacking those two on each other. So here we go. We'll just start out with credit in general. Okay. So it sounds good when people say pay for everything in cash, right? You hear that? That's like the sexy terminology out there nowadays. Pay for it in cash. Carry no debt. But is that really the best move? Is it practical? Is it advantageous for you, right? Does it work to your advantage? In some cases, it is best to pay off something in cash, by all means, right? But that all depends on how much cash you have on hand and your particular situation, right? Each person's situation is different. So I have people come to me who have large sums of cash and they also have some debt. And sometimes they'll say, hey, I got this 50,000 in cash, I have 20,000 in debt. Should I just take that money and just plow it all onto the debt, right? And maybe not. It depends if that's all the cash you have access to and you have high monthly expenses, maybe not. But we develop an aggressive plan to pay down that 20,000. So we may say, well, hey, we're going to pay $1,500 a month until it's paid off. So that'll pay it off in like what, a year and a half or whatever. Put a target date on it and pay it off aggressively, but don't plop it all down and leave yourself at a deficit. In this case, I just gave you, you still have 30,000 left over. So it may be a good idea at that point but it depends on what your monthly expenses are, what your income is, what your total financial situation is before I make that determination. Normally, I have people just aggressively pay down debt as opposed to plopping all their cash onto the debt. But like I said, everyone's situation is different depending on how much cash you have on hand, what type of debt it is, what your income situation is, your total financial picture. Okay. Now, that's that. Now, carrying no debt can actually backfire on you. I know it sounds great to have no debt, but if you have no credit history, which means debt that you're paying back, you'll have a low credit score because guess what? There'll be no record of you paying someone back. And that's what your credit score is all about. Can someone rely on you paying back what you owe, right? And if there's no history of you paying someone back what you owe, then you're going to have some challenges possibly in that credit history situation, right? So your credit report is very, very highly based on that. How you're paying people back, how you're utilizing credit and things of that nature. So if you don't have a system to where you're paying people back or paying businesses back or whatever regarding a payment history, you're going to have challenges in other financial arenas, like everything from borrowing money. So you'll probably pay a higher interest rate. If you have a low credit score, you pay more to borrow money. Also, higher insurance premiums, because a factor in insurance premiums, like your auto insurance and homeowners insurance too, I think, is a credit factor, like your credit score for the most part. Also, rent like apartment complexes, they pull your credit. So there are a lot of different factors in like that debt situation. Of course, I'm not, please don't take this the wrong way. I'm not advocating people stay in debt or go into debt. Just strategically use debt and credit to your advantage. Because if you're strategically paying off something or paying down a debt, then that's going to help your credit score as long as you're not abusing like the amount of credit that you have access to. If you're using 90% of the credit you have access to, that's not going to be a good thing. Okay, so let's not do that. But it's ideal to have a system or some credit history where you're paying people back or paying a business back or paying some service that's reporting to your credit report. So it increases your credit score. It shows that you're a reliable person, that you're going to pay somebody back what you have been loaned, basically, okay, or a service that you have been given, right? So that's it for that. Okay, let's jump into like credit cards. Now, I've told you before in previous podcasts that credit cards get a bum rap. Like credit cards can't charge themselves up. People do it, right? There's always a person behind the transaction. So it's just a lack of discipline. You need to discipline yourself because credit cards can work to your advantage. Now, credit versus debit. I think most people know what a credit card versus a debit card is. My little guy is 6 years old. He already knows that. But with a credit card, basically you're borrowing money. And people don't really think about that. But yeah, when you use a credit card, you're borrowing money to pay for something. And there's an interest rate attached to that. If you don't pay it off by the due date, then of course you have to pay interest on what you have borrowed to make that purchase. Versus if you use a debit card, that money comes right out of your bank account. So, you know, basically you have to have the money to pay for that in your bank account, right? So it's a big difference between the two, using your credit card versus using your debit card. Now, building credit is a credit card is a great way to build credit because you charge something, you pay it off. You charge something, you pay it off. It shows a history of you paying back somebody or some service or what have you that will improve your credit score, okay, using the credit card to do that. What we want to do is budget your charges though. So I do advocate people charge some of their stuff so they can have that credit history. So I just had a client call a couple of weeks ago, a young lady just recently coming out of school. I have a lot of young clients calling here lately, young lady, young man also. And I advocate, okay, getting you a credit card and maybe just charging up your gas for the month, the gas in your car. So that may be 50 or $100 per month, something you can reasonably afford to pay off when that bill comes due. And that's going to help build the person's credit because 9 times out of 10, like these young people I'm talking to, for the most part, they don't have a credit history right now. So you want to build a credit history. So when you do want to go make a larger purchase, you have a higher credit score and you pay a lower interest rate for whatever you're trying to do, buy a vehicle, purchase a home, or what have you, right? So it costs money to borrow money. So let's do that. Let's make sure we're using the credit card to build our credit. Here's another thing, on large purchases, I can't think of any large purchase that I use a debit card on. Yeah, I use credit card, right? For a couple of reasons. Because if I charge it, then I have the ability to dispute it. If something goes wrong with whatever that situation is, that service or that product, I never got it or whatever happened, I can call my credit card company to dispute that and they'll take it off, right? Until the dispute is settled. As opposed to if you debited that amount, it's out of your bank account and it's a whole totally different process to try and get that money back, right? So I'll just give you a perfect example. I had some repairs done to my vehicle recently, and they were pretty substantial. It was thousands upon thousands of dollars, right? I charged that, right? For two reasons. It's a large purchase and the rewards. And I'll talk about rewards in just a few minutes. You get rewards with most of these cards for the most part. So make sure that you do your large charges ideally on a credit card, but only do that if you're going to pay it off to zero balance when the bill comes due. Don't put something on there. You're like, oh, I'm going to put this $5,000 charge on there, and then you're going to piecemeal it afterwards. No, you should already have the $5,000 to pay for that. That should already be accounted for. Okay. So I'm not saying to do that, to charge something large and just pay it piecemeal. No, if you make a large charge, you're going to pay that off when that bill comes due. That's why I advocate people do small charge, like my younger clients, definitely small charges because their income is normally a little, less. They're just starting out. So charge your cell phone bill or your gas for your vehicle, just little small stuff that you can probably pay off. Well, that you will be able to pay off when that bill comes due to continue to increase your credit, right? Credit score. All right, now closing dates. I already talked about that. Please check out my podcast titled Floating a Credit Card Charge. I think I titled it that, Floating a Credit Card Charge, where be very aware of your closing date. A lot of people don't pay attention to the closing date. Basically, the closing date is like your billing cycle. Like when the closing date comes, that means everything that was charged from that date behind, up to your last closing date will be on your next billing statement, like that you have to pay money, right, to pay that bill. Now, if you charge something after that closing date, then that charge is not going to show up on the next month's amount due. It's going to show up on the following month. So quick example, if you charge something on May the 15th and your closing date was May the 14th, your closing date, May the 14th, says, hey, everything that was on that bill, you're going to owe it in June, the following month. May, June, you're going to owe it. But May 14th was your closing date. So if you charge something on May 15th, it's not going to be due in June. It's going to be due in July, right? So be aware of that so you can strategically, charge and pay off when those bills come due, okay? Check out my podcast on that. Now, I use credit for most online purchases also, as opposed to a debit card, because if, some fraud happens or what have you, I'd rather that happen on a credit card as opposed to someone swiping a few $1,000s on my bank account or from a debit card. So I do use some things. I do debit from sites that I'm very familiar with, and I've used a lot of times, big names or whatever. But a lot of times I use a credit card for online purchases. So if something kind of hanky goes on, that I have some recourse to the credit card company, as opposed to trying to fight to get that money back into my bank account. Okay. Renting a car, use a credit card for renting vehicles, right? Not a debit card, use a credit card, put a hold on it, or renting a vehicle. Also rewards, I alluded to this earlier. I like cash rewards. Some people like miles, but I'm partial to cash because it gives you more flexibility and more options. I could decide to use the cash to pay down my current bill, or I could have a check sent to me, or I can use the cash towards gift cards that they have on their website. So all these, as opposed to miles, it's just miles or flights to somewhere. I can use the cash. I can say, well, hey, I want to fly somewhere. I have $500 in cash. I can just charge that on my card. I have the $500 in cash. I could just use that to pay off the $500. That's what I could do. Uh-oh. Sorry about that. So here we go. That's the way I would do that. I like cash rewards. So I like the flexibility. Everyone's different. I like the flexibility. Okay, so let's do what fits you, but do something that has some rewards on it with your credit card. Miles, some people love miles. I get it. But like I said, I think cash is more flexible. I have probably thousands of dollars of gift cards just sitting in my drawer that I haven't used yet. I don't know what I'm waiting on, but Yeah, and I have like a couple $1,000s in gift cards probably that I can buy off the website right now, but I'm just so busy doing this other kind of stuff. But to me, that's a reward for me, charging, paying it off. I'm going to buy myself something nice later on. All right, young adults, it's a great way to build credit with a credit card, right? And it's also a great way to hurt your credit too. So you have to maintain discipline. Don't use the credit card like, okay, you don't have to pay this money back, because that's just crazy. Okay, that's maintain discipline, use it to your advantage, right? To your best interest, which means do a little bit at a time, pay it off, and keep doing that so you can increase your credit score and pay less on interest and less on insurance and things of that nature because you have a higher credit score. And that's it. I want to knock this podcast out really quick. So credit cards, good or bad? I think good. People make them bad. Okay, it's just like a car. You're not going to not drive a vehicle because it could hurt someone, right? Hopefully the person behind the wheel is being responsible driving the vehicle, because a vehicle can't hurt anyone by itself. Someone has to be behind the wheel, just like someone has to be behind the wheel of the credit card, right? So I think credit cards are a good thing. You just have to make sure you're not abusing them and do things that are in your best interest. Don't just go crazy on them, right? And also we talked about credit, use it or lose it. If you don't use credit, you're going to lose it on your credit score, which means you're going to lose points. You won't have a good credit score. If you're paying for hey, I'm going to get me a used car. I'm going to pay $20,000 cash for it. I'm going to do this cash. You have no credit score. You have no payment history. I know it sounds great, right? But yeah, ideally you want to have a high credit score, which means you have a history of paying someone back. So when you do borrow to buy a house, or need some other type of service, you have a credit score that is high that reduces your cost of doing business with someone. That's it. So our recap is credit cards, good. People sometimes abuse them, but credit cards are good. They can help you in so many different ways, and we kind of outlined those earlier. Also another recap is that you want to definitely use credit to your advantage so you can have a higher credit score and pay a lower interest rates for services down the line. Takeaways are to always look at your own particular situation, use a strategy in each one of those situations. Use a strategy when you're talking about using your credit card versus your debit card, and use a strategy when you're talking about using credit and building your credit score. Okay. I want to thank you guys for listening every week. Like I always thank you. I appreciate the feedback, and the subscribers keep increasing. So I ask that you forward this podcast to others and ask them to do the same, and so on and so on and so on. So forward it to your friends, your family members, your co-workers, your church members, your other fellow entrepreneurs, if you're a business owner or what have you. Please forward it and ask them to forward it, and so on and so on. All of my podcasts are on my YouTube channel. It's just my name, Ernest Burley. So I ask that you guys to go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, and ask your friends and family, church members, co-workers, business owners, or what have you to subscribe also, and to ask their friends to do the same. And click around in there, because I have podcasts on a whole lot of different topics, from real estate to should you buy a car or lease a car, or should you pay off your home early or not, real estate or real mistake, right? Should you rent or should you buy? All types of insurance podcasts. So I talk about a whole lot of different topics on there. Then I have some 1-minute snippets where you can just like listen in real quick and get some good information there. So please check out the YouTube channel, subscribe, and like forward that link to all your friends and family all across the country, because I do have clients all across the country. Okay. If you want to connect with me, very easy to do. My email address is ernest@ernestburleyjr.com. So my first name at my full name.com. That's ERNEST@ERNESTBURLEYJR.com. Or you can call my firm, 301-262-2600 is the number. Or you can go right to my website and click around in there. My website is ernestburley.com or ernestburleyjr.com, whichever you prefer. And you can email me from there. So I'm very reachable. And if you have any questions, hey, we'll hash it out. I don't charge fees for answering questions, right? So just give you a clear, objective advice, and you have at it. Okay, that's what I'm all about. Okay, I think that is it. But since I did mention my credentials as a financial planner, certified financial planner, and also investment advisor representative, I hold a Series 6, 63, and 7, all that type of stuff, I have to go through a disclosure real quick. So here we go. Burley Insurance and Financial Services, Inc., 13621 Annapolis Road in Bowie, Maryland, 20720. That's where my firm is located, right outside of Washington, D.C. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Next Financial Group, Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Burley Insurance and Financial Services, Inc. is not an affiliate of Next Financial Group, Inc. This material is not intended as an offer or solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security or other financial instrument. Past performance does not guarantee future performance. All the views expressed are those of Ernest Burley Jr., myself, and Burley Insurance and Financial Services, Inc., and not those of Next Financial Group, Inc. Next Financial Group, Inc. does not provide, excuse me, does not provide tax advice. And that's it for our disclosure. That's it for our podcast. Thank y'all again for listening in. Need to get some water for my voice. Until next time, y'all take care. Y'all be safe out there. I appreciate you. Take care. Bye.